Hey everybody, it's Amy Fox with Work in Progress Texas and creator of Bloom by Amy. My Instagram is Bloom by Amy, and I have been updating you on a weekly or bi-weekly basis on my calorie deficit. Just to kind of recap, for the last couple of weeks, about 8+ weeks or so, I have been documenting my first calorie deficit since being taking a break for a whole year and really just kind of showing this journey to kind of get back into my clients' shoes as well, to kind of experience what is it like to be back in a calorie deficit. And of course, my purpose and reason for that too is that I do want to lean out. I have some extra fluff that I would like to lose, but I'm also learning a lot of things with this calorie deficit. And I think it was really, really good for me to be in it. So, to be honest, over the last 2 weeks or so, when my parents visited here, um, I obviously got thrown off my groove a little bit, and I already planned for that and expected that. And in one of my previous Facebook, my previous YouTubes, I had talked about how I was going to be fueling a little extra around my period, and that happened to kind of land around my period as well. So that kind of course, Tucker is, lay down, Tucker. He's distracting me because I can see him in the camera because dongs just do that. When you do something like this, that's just when they need something. So, anyways, lay down, sir. So, and having my parents come into town, I knew that it was going to throw off my groove just a skosh. And I basically, in a sense, took a break from the calorie deficit again. I didn't I didn't go off the rails or anything like that, but I just kind of did my own thing. We still got walking in. I didn't get my exercises in. And I have not been doing daily weigh-ins. I haven't been too much back on the calorie deficit. I started it back this week, so I'll say why. So here's where I'm thinking, okay? I dropped about 5 pounds or so, which is great. That's such a great amount of weight to lose in about a 6 week period. That's when I hit it, and I pretty much have maintained that in that time frame, which is another huge win. So when you lose a couple of pounds, 3 to 5 pounds or whatever, and then you maintain that, that is a win. That is something that should be celebrated because you've made these incremental changes and then you've been able to maintain them. Because the biggest thing with fat loss, the hugest issue is all of us can grit our teeth through a calorie deficit of some kind, no matter how you do it. Fasting, keto, carnivore, calorie, like macros, whatever you choose, as long as you've created some kind of calorie deficit and your activity levels balance out with that calorie deficit and you stick with it and are consistent, you will drop weight. How you do it will determine if it's muscle and fat or if it's dominantly muscle or dominantly fat, excuse me. And what I teach in my Bloom program, my one-on-one coaching program, is how to lose that weight without losing the muscle to maintain it and keep it off. Because the whole reason that we're here most of the time, or the reason that women come to me, is because we've tried 7 million things and nothing has stuck. So it's all about finding what's going to fit in your lifestyle, what's going to stick in your lifestyle. And when we start to fuel you properly, give you, meals throughout the day where you're not eating like a bird, you actually get your energy back. That's when you have energy to like do the other things that are important for these results and these transformations. We've got to figure out sleep and stress. We've got to figure out a progressive overload program that you can be compliant and show up to. We got to figure out what foods do you love? What foods do you hate? And how can we make sure we support your body nutritionally, which is basically getting enough protein in your body. Carbs and fats can fall wherever, aiming for about 25 grams or more of fiber. Gosh, I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. 25 grams of fiber on average per day. And this is just the magic sauce for transformation. The challenge with this transformation is that it is slower than what we are used to. We are used to instant gratification. And I think that's where I've had to retrain my brain in that way too. And this experience of like going sober in 2024, losing 20 pounds without even trying, and what I mean by that is I was never aiming for a calorie deficit, but my habits and behaviors and choices somewhat created one. I reduced inflammation, and that's how I dropped that weight, and I've kept it off. So another huge win is that technically in the last year and a half, I've lost over like 25 pounds, and I've kept it off. So that's massive. So even if I look in the mirror and be like, man, I still want to lean out some certain spots here, I'm learning that these little small incremental changes over this time period has played in my favor. And so what I've actually done is I've made some adjustments to my deficit. I'm not ready to pull out of it 100%. I did take that week and a half off a little bit where I wasn't tracking anything. I took a break from social media. That's one of the reasons why this is a little bit of delayed. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, when you're on social media and marketing and you're doing all of it, you're a one-woman show like I am, you just need those breaks every once in a while. So I just had to have that little kind of reset break. I'm also trying to shift my content and I'm learning some new things, so it's a little bit slower to produce stuff to share. But these long form pieces of content, whether it's an Instagram Live, which I just did one today, and then YouTube, like these are just easier for me. It's just nice to have a moment to explain something and get your thoughts out on paper. And I always, or on video, and I always try to come in here with intention and a plan to make sure that it is worth your time to watch. But I have made an adjustment and I've actually given myself a couple hundred calories back into my weekly plan. And so I'm still in a calorie deficit, but I'm in a smaller calorie deficit. And that's the thing is that we don't have to have extreme calorie deficits where you're taking 500 to 700 calories off of what your maintenance is. You can take 200, 300 calories off. And even though you can go back to maintenance really easily if you're not careful, that extra fuel can actually be sane for people, can keep you sane. And how I know this because there's been a couple of clients where first off, they were either really close to their goal weight, like they only had a few more pounds to lose, and they were struggling to stay compliant with their calorie deficit. And I gave them a little bit more. I say, look, your activity is really good. You're consistent with your exercise. Let's just give you a little bit more carbohydrates to balance some things out. And that's when this most recent client actually started to have a result, like the scale started to budge again. But also in this process, she was learning, you know what, Amy, you're right. Like, body composition and how you feel and your energy. Like those are the things that I'm noticing even more. And I've been able to, in a sense, let go that the scale is not dropping a bunch of weight on the scale. And I love when women have that transformation. I mean, she's in the range of 120 pounds as like a 5'2", 5'3" gal. That's really, really good. So we're getting to the point where it's like, look, you're needing to just continue to nourish your body and resistance train because guess what? The body that you're looking for, all of us, by the way, is probably heavier on the scale than we think it should be. And that's because when you actually build muscle, the scale is probably going to fluctuate up, or you're going to be the same weight that you might have come to me at 135 pounds and you want to drop 10 pounds. Well, if your 135 pounds has a smaller waist, stronger arms, and stronger thighs, and you're looking pretty good in a bikini or your shorts or your jeans, do you really care that you're 10 pounds heavier than you thought you should be? And that's where I'm kind of retraining myself too as a 5'9" gal. I know that when I was younger, I walked around at 150 pounds without trying when I at full height, right? But that was not a fit version of myself. That was not a healthy version of myself. That was just what I walked around as without trying anything. So I haven't even really identified what is my ideal body weight as a 5'9" gal. Now, of course, I can compare myself to other 5'9" gals if I needed to, if I wanted to, which we all do from time to time, but that's not the reality. Reality is that I've been in this deficit. I'm not ready to pull out of it completely, but I'm getting to that point where I'm like, nope, I need to go back up to maintenance and continue to resistance train and continue to nourish my body and build muscle. There's a mental shift that happens with calorie deficits. It is a challenge. It can be more challenging. And if it becomes so challenging, I even had a client that's experiencing the exact same thing, I basically am saying, look, you're not ready for a calorie deficit. There's too many stressors in your life. It's making you miserable. I hate watching you be in this way. I think you just need to continue building muscle because she was a very, very active person, very consistent with her workouts, very consistent with 10,000 plus steps a day. Like activity was no problem for her by any means, but we needed to make sure she was fueling properly. So we discovered a lot in our time together that actually she can eat more than she thought she could and not gain weight. And that being able to learn what volume of food that she could eat to support her activity levels is really what's become a game changer. And so now she's going to implement that. She's going to go forth and stay in maintenance and be consistent with her training and consistent with the activities that she loves to do and just not diet for like a year. I'm telling her like a year, okay? And so I'm very, very close to transitioning back to, okay, I did a little bit of a deficit. That's cool. That's my deficit for the year. Now I'm just going to focus on my habits, my routines, resistance training, and being consistent with my protein content intake. Because honestly, if I look in the mirror, like, yes, there's things that I want to change, but I honestly, when I look in the mirror, I feel pretty good about myself, actually. I've come a long way to be able to accept my body composition and how it looks. But I also know you are not going to diet yourself into the body that you want. The diet is a part of the process. I truly believe we should not be in a diet more than once or twice a year. So it's kind of me coming to that point of being like, okay, I'm going to finish this deficit till the end of June. That was the time frame I was committing to. I've just upped my calories a little bit and let's just see what my body does over the next 4 to 5 weeks, kind of aiming for 1,800 calories instead of that 1,600 calorie range where I was at. And I can already tell you by increasing my calories this week and actually tracking it this week, I have felt much better. So sometimes when we put women in a calorie deficit, we have to make some adjustments for their sanity, and that could mean increasing their calories just a little bit. I even have another client where it's a very stressful season, and so what we're doing is having her in a very small calorie deficit as well to complement her training, but not put her body in too much stress. And what's beautiful about it is that she also understands the stress that's in her life right now. It's a lot of stuff going on. And the fact that that gives her a little peace of mind of like, this is what we're focusing on. We're focusing on daily 15 to 20-minute workouts. We're focusing on walking when you can get your steps in. And we're focusing on a milder calorie deficit because as a short, petite person too, if I can keep more calories in their food bank, that gives them more options for their personal, meal plans that they have to aim for. Because as a petite, short person, like you have less calories to work with. So I kind of like to get some of that extra calorie burn from activity anyways, so that you have more wiggle room for food. We always want to increase activity more than trying to take away food. So the reality is the eat less, exercise more thing, that concept isn't actually like totally hogwash. It actually has some legit aspects to it. Yes, hormones can make it challenging. Yes, as we get older, it can make it challenging. Yes, blood sugar changes can make it challenging. PCOS, autoimmune conditions can make it more challenging. But that just means you might need more time in it as opposed to these methodologies not working. So maybe that's another good topic to kind of get on is like talking about these hormonal things or autoimmune conditions that can play a role. But truly, what's going to matter is remaining in a calorie deficit that's sustainable, consistently getting your movement in, and making sure you're finding a lifestyle that can match with your world that you can do forever. And honestly, everything I'm doing now, I can do forever. I'm just taking away a little bit of carbohydrate and fat to slowly drop weight. And I just refuse to go to a pharmaceutical route. Yes, I might use berberine and bitters to have that GLP-1 impact or inositol. I never can say it. Inositol, digestive enzymes, other things, fiber sources and stuff. But I just refuse to go that other direction right now. Has it been tempting? Has it been on my mind? Sure. Microdosing does definitely make me a little curious if I'm being totally transparent. But my mission is that I don't want to rely on drugs and I know that I don't have to. And I know that if I continue, and it could be, and I will say, those can be a game changer for some people. Some people, it is a life altering thing. Like if you've got lots of weight to lose, if you're well over 200 pounds, I can totally see pharmaceuticals being something to give you a leg up. So like I said, I'm not dogmatic about it. I'm very down the middle, and see both sides, but I still have that just in my chest that I have got to keep fighting for this myself. And it's freeing. It's good. So I'm in a really, really good place. And I thought, I've got to update you. I know it's been a minute, and I hope that this also brings some value to be like as a reminder that a lot of the times the body that you're looking for is more than likely going to weigh more than you think. And the less we diet at certain points, because there's certain points in our journey where we might have to, depending on how much we have to lose, but the less we diet and the more we continue to be consistent with those habits, sleep and stress management, hydration, getting enough protein and fiber in, resistance training at least 2 days a week, getting your step count to be a minimum of 7,000 or more on an average is going to be a game changer. And it's doable for all of us. So if you have any questions, I have spots open for my Bloom program, my one-on-one coaching program. And I would love to have a conversation. We could talk about where you're at right now and see if it's a good fit for you. And just let me know. Comment below or send me an email, whatever works for you. I would be happy to chat because this is what we do as we look into your life and decide how do we want to go about this goal of losing weight, getting your energy back, being able to look in the mirror and feel confident, being prepared to zip up a pair of jeans that you love and feeling good as you walk out the door and trying to get to that point where we're thinking about it less, which is nice, like as far as, not looking in the mirror and just hating what you see all the time. I understand it. We're very hard on ourselves as women. So, I'm here for you. And we've got a really fun community too. So let me know if you want to have a chat. I appreciate anyone who's been watching this series or catching this as a one-off. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day or night, whatever time of day you're watching this. So until the next one, I'll see you later.